I've got some of the light in me. You've got some of the light in you. And a little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through. I've got some of the light in me. You've got some of the light in you. And a little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through. I've got some of the truth in me. You've got some of the truth in you. And a little bit of truth from everyone. A little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through. I've got some of the love in me. You've got some of the love in you. And a little bit of love from everyone. A little bit of truth from everyone. And a little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through. I've got some of the hope in me. You got some of the hope in you. And a little bit of hope from everyone. A little bit of love from everyone. And a little bit of truth from everyone. And a little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through. There is nobody with a handle on it all. No one place the answers can be found. But everybody has a gift and everyone can share. Put them all together, we can turn this world around. I've got some of the love in me. You got some of the love in you. And a little bit of love from everyone. A little bit of truth from everyone. And a little bit of light from everyone is enough to see us through.
Good morning. Hey, we have spaciousness, it feels like, today. Yeah, you can spread out. It's the holiday season. Welcome, I'm the Reverend Kevin Tarsa, if we have not met yet. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm masking when I'm not speaking here this morning. And so to light our chalice, a symbol of this tradition, we gather up the bits of light from within each of us. Our tear-stained light, our exuberant light, our pain-tempered and struggle-strengthened light, the light blazing and the light just barely holding on. We pile it all, a little bit from each of us, on the altar of our highest aspirations. And together, hope beyond hope that for a moment it will be bright enough to illuminate some elusive corner of truth for us, that it will generate enough warmth to guide us through the storm toward love, that it will vibrate with enough energy and passion to call us past the current thresholds of our courage, and that it will hum at the disarmingly gentle yet alive frequency of harmony and peace. We gather up the bits of light from within each of us, hoping, maybe even trusting, that it will be enough to see us through. And Linda Siska offers our land acknowledgement this morning.
By placing this basket of black oak acorns on our altar, we acknowledge the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible after generations of erasure and exclusion from California's history. We understand we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, never given up, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the genocide of their people. We commit ourselves to supporting the Nisenan in their efforts to stabilize their people and restore tribal sovereignty.
So I'd like to invite you to silence your cell phones. And then I'd like to invite you to take the ornament that you brought with you, or perhaps you gathered from the basket as you came in, and to take it and look at it and think of why you brought it and how it means something special to you. And I'd like you to share that with a neighbor. Share your ornament before later it gets placed on the tree.
Folks on Zoom as well, here's your chance to turn on your camera and show your ornament. Thank you. I brought a little dough star made by one of my nieces and nephews, and I have 20 of them, so I can't remember which one this was. So I was just telling Carol, for me it represents all of them, a little dough star. Did you know that Unitarians rescued Christmas in the United States? It's true. With a little help from Episcopalians. But as the Reverend Paul Oakley explains, if you want to talk about the war on Christmas, you have to go all the way back to the Puritans, the hardcore Calvinists who in 1659 outlawed Christmas in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Yes, for 22 years it was illegal to celebrate Christmas. What the Puritans objected to were the pagan roots of the celebrations and the drunken rowdiness and the superstitious sinfulness, as they saw it, of Christmas festivities. And so anyone caught celebrating Christmas by failing to work, by, quote, feasting or any other way, was required to pay for every such offense 5 shillings, about $50 or $60 today. When they tried to outlaw Christmas in England, there were riots in the streets. And I don't know whether there were riots on this continent or not, but it is no surprise that the outlawing of Christmas did not last. Christmas did not take on its current fuzzy family focus, however, until the 1800s, with some significant help from Unitarians. In 1835, immigrant radical Unitarian minister Charles Fallon and his wife put up a German-style Christmas tree in their home outside of Boston, with decorations hanging on the tree and gifts and candles on it. And after a guest wrote about it in a very popular periodical of the day, wrote about how glorious a sight that tree was, Christmas trees became all the rage. Charles Dickens in England wrote A Christmas Carol in 1843 in the hopes of encouraging people to be caring and generous, especially to those with less. Both Edmund Hamilton Sears' carol, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear, and Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's poem-turned carol, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day, each of those carols lamented the violence of their times and the way that war was being glorified rather than peace on earth and goodwill to all. John Sullivan Dwight translated both the lyrics and the Catholic theology of a French carol into Unitarian terms, and then published it as O Holy Night. Political cartoonist Thomas Nast created the image of what became the increasingly round and jolly figure of Santa Claus that we know today. In his first drawing, Santa Claus was kind of lanky. And Theodore Dr. Seuss Geisel published How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in which, like Dickens, he tried to convey the true meaning of Christmas and the dangers of a heart squeezed too small by life hurts. Unitarians, all of them, who had a hand in turning Christmas into the family-centered Jingle Bells holiday it became, with all of its gifts and all of its hazards. Jingle Bells also written by a Unitarian, by the way. Christmas means a lot to some of us and not much at all to some of us, and it's problematic or painful for some of us, and maybe all three some years. I find for me that the quality of Christmas celebrating varies from year to year. You have these ornaments in your possession, and together we'll decorate this tree, thanks to Shanti and Jivat for providing the tree. It is intentional that this is a very natural tree, not sculpted or shaped into anything but itself. So as you hold your ornament in your hand, here or at home, I invite you to let the ornament represent the whole range of feelings that you associate with Christmas, whether it's positive or negative, as well as the rest of the feelings that come with you today, the joys, the worries, the sadnesses, the gratitudes. Let it represent your longings and your prayers too, your hopes for yourself, for those you love, for this community, for the nation, for this spinning earth. And with these, with that whole range of feelings and what resides in us, as we decorate this, let's make it a very, therefore, real Christmas tree, right? A really real Christmas tree, but the full range of what it holds. As we decorate and Toby plays, we'll have a chance to hum along with carols if we choose. I invite us to hold each other and in care as we do. And if there are any young ones who want to come up first, I'm not seeing any visible young ones. Yeah, okay. So I invite you to bring your ornament on up and to add it to the tree with all that you hold in mind and heart. the all-purpose celebratory falala. Beautiful. Clearly, some of these ornaments have stories to them. I want to know the stories. But whether in actuality or in spirit, we will sing our youngest ones on their way, sending the light to, with this little light of mine, ultimately. Cheryl's here.
Maybe.
Welcome and good morning. Good morning. To this mid-December gathering at the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains. I am Carol Nimick, the worship associate for this morning, assisting Reverend Kevin Tarsa and our music director, Thomas Rose. And I want to thank Catherine Young and Taylor Carey for being with us this morning, providing music. We are drawing close to the solstice, the shortest day of the year. In the midst of this darkness, where do I find light? From the chalice reading words, we gather bits of light within each of us. By recognizing the candle in my heart, although sometimes only a flickering flame, I share the light of the candle of a neighbor's heart. As Buddha said, light never ceases by being shared. How can I be more aware of this light, and how can I be more present in each moment? Thank you for being part of this gathering this morning, whether in the room or on Zoom, bringing your presence and your heart's flame, if flickering or burning. This room, this space is here for us to be together with compassion, curiosity, and presence for ourselves and for one another. Welcome.
Thank you, Carol. Here's a possible piece of a conversation, as suggested by Dr. Stephen Hassan. Congratulations, your guy won. You must be very happy. You must be very excited. Tell me, what are you most looking forward to when Trump takes office? What are you really excited about? I'll come back to that suggestion a bit later. In this month in which we're focusing on the experience of presence, we began with a service focused on finding ways to stay present within ourselves, and we explored a set of spiritual practices that might help us center and ground in a given moment and in the reality of the day, in the truth of what is right now. Not our expectations or our stories, but in the truth of what is. And last week, we hummed and sang and held silences together. They were all embodied, shared experiences that can connect us, that can lift us, that can, in fact, transcend us. Ways of being powerfully present together as a community and in community. And this week, we turn our focus to remaining present within our interactions and our interpersonal relationships. In helping us look at deep dialogue in an October workshop, the Reverend Kat Cox identified the goal as, in essence, being fully present to another person without losing ourselves. In other words, staying fully present to someone else and staying fully present to ourselves at the very same time. For me, this effort to be present in both ways comes not merely within the usual challenging context of relating to others, but especially in the current context of feeling so distanced from some people we know and love over the experience of the national election. That's why I like this butterfly and frog photo. How do we stay connected across our differences? What does it mean to be fully present to another person without losing yourself when the public stakes, given the differences, feel so very high? My family has a text thread where we share what's going on in our health lives and in our adventures and a number of other places. And someone in the family sent this news article. This was in a small town in Michigan where a local theater company was putting on a production of The Diary of Anne Frank. And they were doing it very specifically to help bridge some awareness around Jewish people in Judaism, right? It's meant to be a bridge building experience. Well, at that play, one night, here appeared a whole group of masked demonstrators carrying giant Nazi flags and yelling intimidating slurs at the people coming to the play. So this family member wrote to our text thread, our shared text thread, we're seeing some disturbing behavior down here. So I responded, so sorry to hear certain groups of people are likely feeling emboldened. May the rest of us find ways to prevent harm, protect those who are vulnerable, and hold intimidators accountable. So I know my family members are on a whole range of the spectrum. So I was trying to word this carefully, but also say, let's pay attention here. And then another family member replied with this: compliments of Antifa. The conservative sites have been warning about this for a couple months. Don't jump to any conclusions. There's already been too much of that. In other words, this person had already been prepared not to see the Nazi demonstrators as problematic, to assume that it's actually a devious plot to have somebody pretend they are Nazi sympathizers. So what happened in me, I've been working so hard to maintain a sense of feeling connected to the family members who are very excitedly voting and hoping for things very different than I am. I've been working really hard at that. And what happened with that text, when that text came, was it was like I was sucked backwards. You know, like in a movie scene when someone's reaching out for something and some powerful force goes and pulls them. That's exactly what it felt like. And in fact, like an iron door went chunk, right? I felt so cut off. Like, how much do I want to spend time with this person? What kind of connection can I have in the future? That was my emotional response. That piece, that they had taken so much to heart from someone else's message that they weren't even going to be able to see harm when it happened. I used to wonder, quite often actually, how families during the Civil War and at other times could have had people on both sides of that, and in fact fighting in armies that were fighting each other, killing each other. I couldn't get my head and heart around that. And now I get it. I actually get it, right? You can see the strength of the feeling. I get that, which actually helps me have some more empathy, right? Just that, oh, this is how it happens. I get it. And what I would like to focus on today is that idea that empathy is the starting place. Calling up empathy is the starting place. It's a grounding practice for relationship. If we can call empathy up within us for any reason, including for ourselves and for anyone, that helps kind of prime us to be in a place where we can be more empathetic in more challenging relationships and situations. And as Kat offered in the workshop, Reverend Kat Cox, if we want to connect across or beyond differences, and I would point out that this is when we're not in danger, physically or emotionally, when it's not an abusive situation. That's not what we're talking about. But when we want to connect, we want to maintain or establish connection across differences, then Kat says, empathy must always come first before anything else can happen. Empathy first is her slogan around that. Now, I can only touch very briefly on that idea and what she offered today, and I owe more of you a chance to view that video, so let me know if that's something you want to see, but also stay tuned. I recommend it. But here's the foundation, kind of a starting place that Kat lays out as a foundation for this. And it comes from nonviolent communication, but it's the idea that all human behavior, everything we do, is driven by very universal human needs that every single person has. Safety, food, wellness, to be respected, to not be isolated. Those human needs that every single person has. All our behavior, they would say, is driven in some way by those needs. And all our behaviors that, as they play out, are strategies to meet those needs, to fulfill those needs and values, right? All our behaviors are just the particular ways, the strategies we use to have those needs be met. And all our strategies are based on our interpretation of what's happening, the stories we tell ourselves, or the stories that someone else tells us about what's happening. And all our feelings are based on whether or not we have a sense that we can get our needs met. So we have universal human needs that everyone has, and because they're universal, the conflict happens when it happens, not at the level of our needs, but at the level of our strategies. We all have the same needs. We're trying to get them met in different ways, and that's where the conflict comes. We have different strategies. And we have different strategies because we have different interpretations based on our life experiences, based on what we've taken in, based on what we hear, see, the people around us tell us. We have different stories about what's happening. And then the feelings that come up for us are based on those, whether we think we can get our needs met, based in all of that. So the starting place to finding empathy and connection and presence with another, even when it's challenging, is first of all to recognize that we have common needs, even if our strategies are different. So our needs are the same, our strategies are different. And even with a person who seems entirely different from us. To get to that, we first have to recognize and understand our own needs and feelings. That's really the starting place. What am I needing? How am I trying to get my needs met? What are the stories I'm telling myself? What are the interpretations I have? Getting a grounding in how I'm operating so that I can be more open to understanding how someone else might be operating. The step here is to recognize that, like everyone else, our actions and our feelings, too, are about getting our needs met. We have our particular ways of doing it. Now, it's important to point out, as Reverend Kat does, that empathy does not mean agreement. So finding empathy and understanding for someone doesn't mean we agree with the strategies or the stories or the interpretations. We can try to see and understand that another person is acting out of their own genuine needs and values, needs that we also have in our own way, and understand that the differences are in the strategies we're using to get those needs met. Kat says that if we want to connect with someone in a context of conflict, we have to drop all our focus on the difference in our strategies. We have to let that go, just drop it. Withdraw all our energy from opposing the other person's solutions and put all our energy into trying to understand the needs and the values underneath their strategies. Needs that we can identify with because we've got them too. If we've been able to notice and understand our own needs and values and the feelings that come from whether we sense they're being met. So again, this is not what we do in a physical or emotionally dangerous situation or in abusive relationships. This is for when we want to establish or maintain connection, maintain our presence with someone inside of us, as well as with the other person all at the same time. And that doesn't mean we won't, in the larger picture, take action to prevent the harm of some of their strategies. Doesn't mean we don't oppose the strategies, right? We can still look for the connection. So I shared my family text story with Reverend Cat of the play, The Diary of Anne Frank, the Nazi protesters, and the loved one's response, and my getting sucked back. And I explained the struggle I was having to stay present to that relationship, to find empathy or even a thin lifeline of connection, which I wanted and which was feeling so distant. And she said, well, one positive thing, one possible starting place is to notice that this family member did not want those to be Nazi protesters. And in fact, believing that these were really somebody else posing as such is one way for those not to be Nazi protesters in their mind. The potential empathetic connecting point is that this family member does not want those to be Nazis, which means that I could, if I chose, point out to them, I'm glad to know that you don't want those to be Nazi sympathizers, which would then open an opportunity to be curious together and to ask, in a much more even-keeled way, how would you recognize if those were real neo-Nazis? How would we be able to tell if those were the real thing? What a turn, right? What a turn. I told Reverend Cat I never would have thought of that in a million years. But immediately upon hearing it, that rigidity in me softened. And I could start to see possibilities, even if it might take me a while to get there. Right? How could you find the connecting place, the thing we share in the midst of all of that? That potential piece of conversation I shared earlier, congratulations, your guy won. What are you excited about? Similar turn, right? That was a suggestion by Dr. Stephen Hassan, who as a young adult became very deeply immersed in Sung Moon-young's Unification Church, the Mooney cult as it has become known. Hassan, since then, has spent his entire vocation, decades, studying and understanding and helping people avoid and leave and recover themselves from many kinds of cults and manipulative leadership. His suggestion to ask someone what they're excited about given the election, or worried about, as the case might be from the other direction, it's a variation on Reverend Cat's teaching that you have to withdraw all your energy from opposing their strategies or solutions. The way Dr. Hassan would say it is that we have to withdraw all our energy from opposing the leader, the ideology, the doctrine, because that always pushes people who are true believers to dig in their heels. Maintaining a connection of some sort is what's important if we care about someone and the relationship. And by recognizing their joy and asking what they're excited about, rather than trying to convince them that they shouldn't feel that way, by doing that, we keep a door or a window open for that connection. And in addition, we build the foundations for a future off-ramp should their expectations be disappointed, right? If we challenge and dig in, that makes that harder. If we leave that open, it actually creates a potential off-ramp if they need it later, if they're not shoring up all their defenses based on our attacks. Empathy doesn't fix or solve everything, but it has the potential to keep a way open in our own hearts, first of all, maybe most important of all. Maybe the broken open hearts spoken of a couple Sundays ago with the cracked bowl and the shards of pottery. So the spiritual practice here, the demanding spiritual practice, is to let go of our need in a relationship to first oppose someone else's solution or their ideas, and instead try to understand how and why someone could feel the way they do. Or at least understand that someone is in their own way trying desperately to meet their own understandable needs, to meet their own values at some deep, if not always conscious level. The path of empathy is a way of recognizing that everyone's got some of the light, some of the hope, some of the truth, some of the love in them, and us too. It's about getting our own heads and hearts into what Joyce Poley calls a holy place. Can we get our hearts into a holy place? A place in which unexpected goodness might arise. As we prepare to receive the wonderful gift of insight and wisdom from Carol Nimick, I invite us to rise in body or in spirit and to sing when our heart is in a holy place.
I welcome this opportunity to share two experiences about sympathetic presence and being in the moment, being intensely present with the other. The experiences are different, but they have common threads. First, creating an open and relaxed space within myself, and then that open and relaxed space between myself and the other. And also the sensation of really stretching myself, of really having to let go, to allow a space for a larger presence to come into that moment. Both experiences are memorable because there was a heightened impulse to set myself aside and to be actively listening. The first experience occurred in a classroom with 32 pubescent sixth graders. I would periodically enter the room and sense the pulse of the room, the energy of the children, and I would ask, what's living in this space? Sometimes whole lesson plans absolutely disappeared, as did my feeling that I had to steer or be the captain of this classroom ship. They would be scarily tossed aside in a new direction, unexpectedly taken, stirred by questions and comments by the students. At these sudden shifts, the conversation became intensely alive and vibrant and dynamic, and the students' excitement, as well as my own, was palpable. The second experience occurred while working in the chaplaincy at the hospital. Upon entering a patient's room and sanitizing my hands, I also had to symbolically sanitize my mind of any preconceived notions about fixing or healing the situation that I was about to enter. It was hard for me to ease my strong desire to be a doer and the inner callings to help. Could I set aside my habitual self? Could I open myself and trust something would happen? Unscripted, uncertain, how scary. Each of these visits was a challenge to be present, to be okay with silence and quiet companionship. I would observe the patient, her eyes, her face, her expression, the way she held herself. Sometimes I'd ask about her illness. Questions were helpful, and as conversation emerged, I would sink into listening for both the words and the subtle body language, and welcome whatever emotions and story emerged. The overall experience was being a midwife, trying to birth feelings. I had to consciously prepare the space by relaxing, by placing myself out of the way, silencing my inner chatter, and stirring my heart center. I tried to put myself inside the other, their skin, their senses, their suffering, and at the same time honor their unique being and sacredness. It was about following their lead and offering my presence, empathy, and unselfish focus. It was about listening and listening more and leaning into the listening. It was about sitting in silence and sometimes simply holding a hand tenderly. I learned from both the classroom and the hospital experience the act of being present springs from being attentive and curious, being in honest conversation with the other and with myself, meeting the material in the moment. Sometimes this feels like an improvisational leap, being continuously present here and now, welcoming the spontaneity and energy right before me. Time disappears, and I'm in a heart-filled, moving landscape. An additional gift from these experiences is my self-companionship, to be present with myself in a way that is honest, insightful, and accepting. It is a gift to my own life story, with its humanness and wholeness, with its wounds and with its quirks. I'm grateful for this gift and welcome the daily moments that provide the chance to strengthen this muscle of being present. This companionship with self also provides opportunities to feel vulnerable, to be touched. Life feels fuller, I am energized, and I am the one who is receiving the healing and the joy.
Many of you know the Buddhist metta meditation or loving kindness meditation, which begins by expressing our desire for our own well-being and happiness, and then someone else's well-being and happiness, beginning with the easier folks in our lives, the easier relationships, and then moving outward to the more and more distant and challenging relationships. It's a powerful way to call up and to exercise our empathy muscle. We'll sing and we'll hum a form of it today, a starting place. And in preparation, I invite you to notice where you are right now. Notice what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you taste, what you're feeling in your body right now. What do you notice about what your body feels? And if you were to notice that you are breathing and what your breathing feels like, and then for a few moments to keep following your breath all the way in and all the way out.
I'm walking down that road where the wild lilies grow, where the creek winds beside me, deep and slow. Tangled branches overhead cast a dappled shade. The wildflowers bloom in that cool mountain glade. When the world is closing down on me, it's the place that is calling me. Every step I take sets my spirits free, and all my troubles wash away from me. The clear water splashes down in its rocky bed. The sunlight shimmers on a silver thread. The birds call one another as they flit among the trees. The dogwood leaves dance in the summer's breeze. When the world is closing down on me, it's the place that is calling me. Every step I take sets my spirits free, and all my troubles wash away from me. I breathe deeply of the sweet forest air as it wafts between the fronds of the pines and fir. Walking down that road brings me back to whole. In the peaceful surroundings I find my soul. When the world is closing down on me, it's the place that is calling me. Every step I take sets my spirits free, and all my troubles wash away from me. Every step I take sets my spirits free, and all my troubles wash away from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Taylor. And thank you to all of you for your giving. We dedicate these offerings to the ideal that we all can be recognized, have our needs met, and be renewed in a circle of shared humanity and community caring.
Thank you, Carol, for being a worship associate. Thanks to everyone who responded to our unexpected loss of power. Metaphors everywhere for that. Catherine and Taylor, yes, thank you. And Toby, of course, for music. Andy and Cypress, thanks for navigating extra today, which is pretty much every week in some form. Eileen for being our chat host. Shanti for the setting as well as the tree today. George is our lay pastoral care person, and right under the tree in back there, available today. Linda and Cheryl were ready for Kids Connection, and Gwen and Jean and Corey greeted, which is always makes such a difference. And thanks to those who were organizing refreshments. And thanks to people who have crossed the threshold for the first time into the room this morning. You will have noticed, folks who are regulars, the entryway looks different. The hallway looks different. All kinds of work in the painting. Huge, huge thank you to Alec McLean and Jeff, back Cypress, please. Alec and Jeff in particular. Paul Elias helped and Carol Ritchie helped paint. So painters, would you raise your hands so people know where you are? And and to everyone who's been part of that, work in progress, work to come. And today, Lynn Jovanovich's fabulous mosaic art is in the library's reception today. Please check out the art and please join in that. And she has cookies there. Today's the last day to shop at the bazaar. There's also a bake sale as part of it. And it's, Lori points out, it's a true clearance sale. Everything must go. Name your price, make an offer, it's yours. So please come out, check out the bazaar as well as Lynn's artwork. Holiday services coming up. There's a winter solstice celebration on Saturday evening. Blue Christmas next Sunday afternoon, which is for people who are grieving. The whole idea is to step out of the need to be holiday cheerful. And Allison and Sue Gregory and I will be leading that. Christmas Eve, the 4:30 service is kind of our typical Christmas Eve service. And then the 7:30 service is more in the style of singing meditation, more intimate and tender. And by candlelight, that 7:30 service. So know that those are here and available to you. And I'm just curious, on your and as always, sign up, check the website where you can sign up for newsletters, etc. On in this year's rhythm of things, where are you on the Christmas scale? I'm curious. How are you feeling about the Christmas season? Take a look around. There's some thumbs up, there's some thumbs sideways, some very unsure, yeah, thank you. It's helpful to know that, right? We're surrounded by this intense social holiday, and here we are in the midst of it. I invite you to come take advantage of the services, and each one we try in some way to honor that whole range of where we're at. For our closing, I invite us to sing one final song together. I'll invite us to rise in body and spirit and to sing, "Listen, listen, listen to my heart song," right? Which is an invitation to listen to somebody else's heart song too. It'll be blended with some words read by Carol Nimick from my colleague Leslie Takahashi.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
Despite distance and fear, we are connected. Despite loneliness and change, we are connected. Across different experiences and lives, we are connected. Even in the face of the inevitable losses of life, we are connected.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
When we wish to laugh, we are connected. When we need to mourn, we are connected. Across a nation divided, we are connected. Even when we dance alone in a room, we are connected.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
In the heat of the sun, we are connected. In the glow of the stars, we are connected. Across the limits of our imagination, we are connected. Even when nature trembles, we are connected.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song.
Let us remember our hearts are always connected as we carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Just to remind you, if you're here in the building, please join us for refreshments in the back room down the hall. And everyone will see you next week.